Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective.
Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope this video this podcast starting off, depending upon how you're consuming the product, finds you well here on a Tuesday morning. I've already been talking for hours. For those of you that don't know or missed it yesterday, the announcement just for this week only. Next week we go back to our normal time, but Justin Fenton and myself on Elite Sports Game Time, 8 to 10 Eastern, Monday through Friday in the evening. We're doing the morning shift this week. So we're on 9 to 11 East Coast time. Yeah, 6 to 8 West Coast time for me. So I'm up bright and early. It's not even bright. I'm just up early. It's before the sun. But the bottom line is I'm up and doing that for 2 hours before this show. So this is my third hour of talking today. Normally it's this show and then that show. But hey, we're getting crazy here on the show. This is Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Jeff Mann's show is on Elite Sports, Elite Sports on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, and that show is from 3 to 6 Eastern as well. So the schedule's a little bit different this week. Still same schedule for me, though. Tomorrow on Wednesday, I'll be with Jeff, as I am every Wednesday on his show. Justin Fenton will be hosting this show here. Again, I am Ray Flowers of FG. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all those places at the Ray Flowers. If you want to find out more about my life and all that kind of stuff, check it out. If you don't care, that's fine too. You can always find me over at FantasyGuru.com in the Discord room, answering comments, questions, all that kind of stuff. Doing football and baseball on a daily basis right now over at FG, so hopefully everyone's taking advantage of that. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner if you haven't. You can see it there on the screen. The fact of the matter is the product is available right now at FG. Dynasty rankings, PPR rankings, non-PPR rankings, best ball rankings, IDP rankings, rookie rankings, on and on and on. The football product is available. We're answering questions in Discord. There are articles coming out every single day. The coverage that you get now at FantasyGuru.com will cover you for the entire season, not just a preseason product. So check it out over at FantasyGuru.com. Send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com, support at FantasyGuru.com, or click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. What are we doing here on the show? Well, we're doing lots of fun things, including what you see on the screen there. We're talking baseball for about the next 25 or so minutes, and at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, we'll talk to Armando Marsal, go over some football with him, talk a little bit of Patrick Mahomes, Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, Malik Nabers. Should we be worried about his toe? Raheem Mostert, is he really going to be a thing in the Raiders' backfield? What about Deontay Thornton? I'm just making that noise loud. Chig, Okonkwo, Travis Kelce. We'll also talk about Armando about his QB bye-week cheat sheet. What is that? We'll talk to him about it. The red zone. He also covers the red zone for us at FG. We'll talk to him about some of the biggest surprises from his two most recent articles there on the red zone and on the quarterback position. Before that, lots to talk about. Guys coming back from injury, guys going down with injury. We'll talk about the bizarre situation with Corbin Carroll coming up here in a few minutes. Before that, we'll talk Chris Sale, Tyler Glasnow, Matthew Boyd, Shota Imanaga, all that kind of good stuff. Remember, you can watch this show live or on demand at Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, Twitter X at FantasyGuruSite, or on YouTube at YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. In any of those three places, you can watch live or on demand. And if you're watching live, you can leave comments in the Discord, such as Tony right here. In the morning, Ray, it's morning, Ray. I already have the page of my own Ray's Ramblings. Thanks, Tony. There you go. Let's get after it, Tony. Thanks for joining us here today. Kyle says, I'm starting Burns. Let's go, Angelo. I wouldn't start Burns today, but hey, how about it, folks? More power to you. Ray wears his sunglasses at early morning hours. Yeah, I do. I'm used to getting up before the sun for football. During the football season, I always tweet out for SiriusXM. So I'm up at 6:15 on Sundays. That's a long day. I'm not usually used to this during the week, though. So, yeah, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock right now just for this 1 week only. We'll go back to that 8 to 10 time slot tomorrow night. And Kyle said, I'm enjoying game time in the morning. All right, there you go, Kyle. You can always listen to our show or any of the shows on demand, by the way. But appreciate the kind words, Kyle. Thank you a lot. All right, so let's get into it. Let's change the size of this sucker here a little bit. Let's talk some baseball before, again, we visit with Armando Marsal. Oh, by the way, you can also go to FantasyGuru.com, go to the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page to find this show and all the catalogs for all the past shows. And you can obviously type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network, wherever that might be, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube Music. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily and you'll find us there. Some pitching before we talk some hitting. Tyler Glasnow's got that shoulder injury. We know he's out. Blake Snell's out. And it seems like every Dodger pitcher's out. Roki Sasaki's out, et cetera, et cetera. 2 scoreless innings for Tyler Glasnow yesterday, or Sunday, in a minor league rehab start. Walked 3 guys, not ideal, but he threw 48 pitches, which is the good news. The bad news, he threw 22 strikes. Ugh. So there's obviously work to do here, but he's coming back from that shoulder injury. It seems very likely now that we're getting him to starting to ramp up a little bit that he'll obviously be back at some point in July, barring another setback. I think it's fair to say he's had setbacks, or maybe not. But probably July. I don't know if it'll be before or after the All-Star break, but he's trending in the right direction. Let's hope it's before the All-Star break, but we'll see. But good news, throwing seems okay. Let's hope he can stay okay. Remember, it was elbow, it was shoulder, it was mechanics, it was body soreness. Lots of things have been going on with Tyler Glasnow in 2025. Not to mention the fact that he's coming off his biggest innings pitch season last year. Coincidence? I'll leave that one up to you. Chris Sale, we talked about yesterday, the rib injury. Obviously, it's a huge issue for the Braves and for all of you in the fantasy space. I said yesterday he's out, for June. He's probably out for all of July. Let's hope August. It's concerning when it gets reported that we expect him to pitch again this season. Like, ooh. July, August, September, that's half the season, right? They're expecting him to pitch again this season. We'll see. Let's hope. Again, the rib injury, we don't know how long it's going to be. They're going to have to basically play this out. It depends how quickly he heals and how he can start doing baseball activities and all that kind of stuff. But, again, after the All-Star break is pretty much a lock. So if you're in the wagering market for that, bet after the All-Star game. Hopefully he's back in late July, early August. Late July seems like kind of a pipe dream at this point too, so it's probably August or bust. Let's hope it's not September. Ugh. Really not great news with Chris Sale. Eduardo Rodriguez. Yesterday we were talking about Eduardo Rodriguez. Yesterday we discussed Eduardo Rodriguez being picked up. On Mondays here on the show, I go over the FAB for the FSGA League, the Labor League, and the Tout Wars League, the 3 expert leagues I participate in every year. And his name came up. I mentioned, we talked about him. We talked about the fact that I got outbid by a couple of bucks. And I also said at the end of my little blurb about Eduardo Rodriguez, if you're looking for a streamer this week, here's your man. And just wanted to circle back because, sometimes you make the wrong call. This was the right call. He threw 6 shutout innings against the White Sox, struck out 10 guys. That's now 4 consecutive starts for Rodriguez, 4 in a row, where he has allowed 2 or fewer earned runs. He faces the Marlins on Sunday. This is a great week to have picked him up. 2-start week against 2 beatable opponents. He's rounding into form. He had a strong effort yesterday, so just a little, hey, if he's still on the waiver wire, facing the Marlins this weekend, no reason to not look in his direction. Long term, we'll see. Again, I'm not the biggest Eduardo Rodriguez fan, and there's been injuries, and the ratios are kind of just bleh. But he can dial it up as he did yesterday against the White Sox, and I'll try to do the same thing this weekend against the Marlins. Matthew Boyd, good news with Matthew Boyd. He had this shoulder issue that they said wasn't a big deal. Yeah, we're just monitoring it. And it's like anytime a team says that, you get a little bit nervous. Well, he's going to make a start tomorrow against the Cardinals. So good news. So it does seem like the shoulder issue is not really an issue. Now, of course, Matthew Boyd could go out there tomorrow, throw 23 pitches, and here we go. We got problems. But as of right now, good news with Matthew Boyd. He's slated to start tomorrow. The expectation is he'll have full ability to go his 90 pitches and throw his 6 innings. That's where we sit here on the Tuesday morning here on Fantasy Sports Daily. Another bit of good news for the Cubs is that Shota Imanaga will return from his hamstring injury to start on Thursday against the Cardinals. Big news here. Obviously, Imanaga is expected to be the best pitcher on the Cubs pitching staff. A guy like Matthew Boyd has really stepped up. Others have stepped up as well. But now we get a chance to see Shota Imanaga back and hopefully able to throw 90-plus pitches and to, give you a quality start kind of thing. He threw 4 1/3 innings in his last outing. I've already been asked, do I start him this week? It's like my default position, just default position, is the guy the first time back. He's not missing, 2 weeks. He's missing longer than that, as Imanaga has. My first inkling is just don't pitch a guy in his first start back. You don't know what it's going to look like, how he's going to do, how deep in the game he's going to go. Depends on your matchup and your pitching staff and where you're at in all the standings and all of that kind of thing. But my basic call with Imanaga is like, I'm okay if you pass the start. Now, the interesting thing is here, what does this team do? Cade Horton has pitched pretty well. Jameson Taillon's pitched very well. So that's 2 of the guys. Matthew Boyd's in the rotation, obviously 3. Imanaga's 4, right? So Colin Ray, Ben Brown got lit up last night. And it really is looking like we had that belief earlier on. Would it be Brown or Horton that sticks in the rotation? Well, Brown's ERA is now over 6. His whip is over 1.5. And he brings strikeouts, but he just doesn't have the depth of the pitching repertoire at this point in time. So I'm anticipating Horton sticking in the rotation. It would be a surprise if he doesn't, with the other 2 guys back, Boyd and Shota Imanaga. Ben Brown likely the loser. Could be Colin Ray. Could be. I'm kind of thinking it's going to be Ben Brown at this point. Tobias Myers, another guy kind of in that Colin Ray zone, just to bring up the name Tobias Myers, because right now there's no use. He's in the minor leagues. He threw 5 shutout innings on his effort on Sunday at AAA. Just wanted to bring him up because one of 2 things is very likely to happen with Myers. He's either A, going to get traded, or B, quite possibly the Brewers will trade either Freddie Peralta for a bigger return or Jose Quintana for a smaller return, which would potentially open up a spot in the rotation for Myers. Myers has posted a 3.1 ERA with basically a 3-1 strikeout to walk ratio down on the farm. He's very much a pitch versus stuff guy. And he would be intriguing as a full-time starter. And we've seen it before. He wouldn't be somebody you'd have to get. He's not a big strikeout arm. He's not a dominant arm by any means. So more of just an FYI, put him on a watch list. And remember, if you hear his name, Ray mentioned him and said he's not too bad. Or when we get toward the trade deadline, and we hear rumors about Jose Quintana being dealt, and et cetera, et cetera. Tobias Myers is the guy that could get an opportunity. Now, though, remember, when you talk about the Brewers rotation, they've also got Henderson, who they could turn to. If Brandon Woodruff can ever get healthy, there's a lot of directions this thing can go. So Tobias Myers might get to this one mention on the show, and then we never talk about him again this year. Totally possible. But just, I put him on a watch list. I don't think it's the worst thing to do. And only leaguers, maybe you listen. Let's talk some hitters. Julio Rodriguez, I just want to talk about him for a second. He had a home run last night, a double, drove in 4 runs. We're spending a lot of time, as we should, talking about Kyle Raleigh, who had another home run last night. We hit a bet on Kyle Raleigh last night, the hit and run RBI prop. After a down week last week, started out this week very strong in the betting department, went 4-0 last night. Remember, you can click that subscribe tab in the top right corner at fantasyguru.com. Get signed up for the baseball package right now. And it's everything we do. All the seasonal work, all the DFS work, all the betting work. You get access to all of it signing up for just the baseball package. No more, you don't get the access to this or that. Everything we do baseball-wise, you get access to if you sign up right now. Send a note to support at fantasyguru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. And maybe if you want to get involved in the betting side of things, we can help you there. Maybe if you want to have more success, we can help you. Maybe if you want to start playing DFS or you want to start playing more aggressively, we can help you there. Maybe your seasonal teams are struggling and you're looking for a little bit of boost, advice. You want to know about a trade. You want to know about how to handle the waiver wire. All that's included in the package. So get signed up over at fantasyguru.com. We spent a lot of time talking about Raleigh, as we should. He has a home run for the 4th straight game. I think he's got 5 in 6 games now. Julio Rodriguez hit a 442-foot home run last night. There you go, Julio. And, it's really easy to forget because there's so many young stars in this game. There's so many good players. Julio Rodriguez is 24 years old. He's, there's still potentially development here. I just hope he gets back to being who he was. Now, we're at about the midway point. And if you said to me Julio Rodriguez went 2020 this year, I would say, well, he should because he's gone 23 straight years coming into this season. So, okay. At the same time, he's looking an awful lot like the guy that we saw last season and not the guy we saw the first 2 years. And that's a little, not depressing, but, good news is, if we're looking for positives here with Julio Rodriguez, his strikeout rate is down 4%, which is really good news. So he's not striking out as much. That's terrific. Unfortunately, his exit velocity is the lowest it's ever been. His barrel rate's the lowest it's ever been. And his hard hit rate's the lowest it's ever been. So, I think this is the floor. And when your floor is 250, 2020, you're obviously pretty good. He got a $200 million contract and was, a couple of home runs and a couple of steals away from going 35-40 a couple of years ago. So if he does what he did last year, okay, but that would be slightly disappointing, especially given the fact that he's still a top 15 pick. So let's hope that this is kind of the start of Julio really kicking it into gear, because he's been good, but much more has been expected of Julio Rodriguez. Now we get to the Corbin Carroll situation. Okay, I don't know all the details. I don't know everything. I don't know much. But I do know that this guy hurt his hand on Wednesday last week. So I don't know what took 5 days for them to really determine what was going on. This is, as I said earlier today on Sirius XM, this is not some AA kid with the Diamondbacks organization. It's Corbin Carroll, who is arguably the face of the franchise. What takes since Wednesday of last week to determine what's going on with his injury? Number one. Number two, we heard hand. Now he's going on the injury list with a chip fracture in his wrist. Hand, wrist. I don't know what's going on here. We don't have a timeline as to when he's going to return. I don't know why, much like in the case of Jordan Alvarez. Again, I know there's tons of bones in your wrists and hands. I get all that, like your feet. I understand. But how are these guys not being diagnosed? And I don't mean they're being misdiagnosed, because we didn't hear that his wrist was healthy. We just heard, oh, he's injured, and they're looking at things. What takes 5 days for a professional team to get a guy looked at by a doctor and get the results of the test? Why are they finding broken bones days after an injury occurred? In the case of Jordan Alvarez, weeks. William Contreras, like what? Seriously, this is where we're at now? That it takes a team a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to determine when a guy's hurt? It's bizarre. How much time is Corbin Carroll going to miss? We have no idea. 4 to 6 weeks? Guess? I don't know. We haven't been updated. We haven't been given that information. Jake McCarthy will be promoted. Jake McCarthy is a moderate hitter who can steal a base. We've seen him have, a couple years ago, he had a huge second half. He's not that level of an offensive player. He's really kind of just a guy offensively, but he can absolutely steal a base. So he'll get a chance to play on a consistent basis, I would think, with the Diamondbacks, but a significant blow to their offense, and we'll have to wait and see how much time he's going to miss. Now, Mr. Naylor, the first baseman, who we also hit a bet on last night, unfortunately for him and the Diamondbacks, and potentially you, Naylor was removed early from the game because his shoulder was barking. He hurt his shoulder recently, so kind of unclear where he's at with his shoulder. And then we got the situation with Eugenio Suarez. And as John P. says in the chat room, could be Lawler time with the Suarez injury. We don't know what's going on with Suarez, but here's the problem with Suarez. He's got a right hand contusion after x-rays came back negative for fractures. Stop me if we just heard about his teammate getting hit by a pitch and being hurt, but not really hurt. We just saw this. I'd love to take the Diamondbacks to their word. I'm not saying they lied with Corbin Carroll, but clearly it took 5 days. They're saying Eugenio Suarez is fine right now. Is he fine? Normally I would say yes, but we're dealing with almost the exact same injury on the same exact team. Yeah. So, as John points out, Jordan Lawler very well could be an option for the Diamondbacks. Again, as of right now, the Diamondbacks are saying no fractures. We're not expecting an injury list stint for Eugenio Suarez. He shows up today, he's feeling different, et cetera, they can make decisions. But right now, it is apparent that the team, according to what they're saying publicly, expects him to be on the field for the next game. Lawler, by the way, has gone back down to the minor leagues. We talked on and on about him. Let's look at his numbers real quickly here. Again, absolutely gaining nothing in the minor leagues, about to turn 23 in about a month, a little less than a month. In his 52 games at AAA this year, 52 games, he's got 45 RBIs, almost won a game. 49 runs, almost won a game. He's got 10 home runs and 18 steals, which puts him on a near 30-60 pace over 150 games. 30-60. And oh, by the way, he's hitting 320 with a 411 on base percentage and a 590 slugging percentage. He is a 30-30 talent. Many, if not most, scouts predict that he will go 30-30 at the big league level. He's a superstar in the making. If he's called up, obviously he's a guy to jump on. And you might be, I talked about him yesterday. He's on my FSGA team. It's either FSGA or Labor. I think it's my FSGA team. That's a 14-team league. I'm stashing him right now. I've been stashing him all season long. I drafted him like in the 28th round or something, I think. I'd be picking him up right now. Because again, even if Suarez is okay, not that Lawler's going to play the outfield, but if they're going to be without Corbin Carroll for 6 weeks, Naylor's beat up. Suarez is beat up. They might call up Waller for offense and just find a spot, right? Of course, they said they were going to find a spot from earlier when they promoted him, and then they played him 2 times a week. The Rays are calling back up Chandler Simpson. Cameron Misner has been sent down. Remember that it mattered all about defense? Well, I guess now the Rays saying, well, yeah, offense is kind of important too. Chandler Simpson is back in our lives. The expectation is that Simpson's going to play every day. The expectation is that he'll hit 280 and steal bases like he was doing before he was demoted. He might sit against lefties. He might be in a platoon scenario, but he doesn't have to play every day to steal bases at a frighteningly positive rate. So if he's on the waiver wire, have at it. In 16 games after being demoted, all he did was hit 370 with 11 steals. So another guy, not as good an offensive performer as Lawler, not even close to as good as overall performer, but a guy who's ready to play in the big leagues and contribute. Simpson is who he is. He should be that guy moving forward, and it looks like he's going to play against right-handed pitching, hopefully the rest of the way for the Rays. Going back to Kyle, I see a question here. Kyle said, replacement for Carroll, Profar, Hayes, Barger, Cowser, your thoughts? Well, Hayes is hurt. Profar is not eligible. So, I think it's July 2nd. For Profar, he's a nice addition. We talked about him yesterday on the show, but he's not going to play for at least a week. Hayes, not positive when he's going to be back either, so it's really tough to go with either one of those guys. Cowser, I'd probably go Barger right now. Now obviously he's not a replacement for Carroll. He's not a base stealer at all. None of these guys are here on this list really, so you're going to have to find those steals somewhere else, even though he wasn't running as much as expected. I'd go Barger right now. I just don't want you to have a guy hurt, Kyle, and be waiting for Profar and Hayes to be back in action for your squad. The Giants, and here's something I was right earlier about Eduardo Rodriguez. 100% right about Eduardo Rodriguez. I was 100% wrong about Casey Schmidt. Yesterday we were talking about Casey Schmidt, and I said logically, and at the time correctly, there's just no place in this lineup once Matt Chapman comes back. So I think it was a waste to have spent $500 to add him. Well, the Giants yesterday made the surprising and unorthodox move of sending Tyler Fitzgerald to the minor leagues. Now, I wrote about Tyler Fitzgerald in the preseason. I did a player profile on him at fantasyguru.com, and I said he was being overdrafted. I said the expectations were far too high with him, and I said people are just missing out who Tyler Fitzgerald really is. At the same time, me and everyone else, no one expected him to be demoted yesterday. Now, he's hitting 230 with a 289 on base percentage and a 320 slugging percentage. So he hasn't done anything to deserve to be in the lineup on a consistent basis. So let's be clear about that. But this is still really surprising. Before we all get excited and over the moon, then, Schmidt, woo, all this kind of stuff, we have to understand that Casey Schmidt, who came up with a lot of excitement, he was a second-round pick back in 2020, he's really kind of stalled out. He's a 26-year-old now who, he's got 450 plate appearances, 450 at-bats, at the big league level, and he's fine. Of late, he's been really good, but he's just fine. He's a guy with moderate power. He's got below average speed. So, a best case scenario is probably 15 home runs and 6-7 steals. To his time at the big league level to date, 290 on base percentage is terrible. Now, the market is much better this year. It's 370. But again, we're talking 100 plate appearances. Don't get too excited with him because at the end of the day, Casey Schmidt, he may end up having a better career than Tyler Fitzgerald is possible. But Tyler Fitzgerald is still the more exciting fantasy option because Casey Schmidt is the quintessential middle infielder that, again, hits 260 with 14 home runs and 6 steals. Whoopie-doo. On a nice streak now, but this is really more about the Giants really souring on Tyler Fitzgerald. Very surprising. Acuna was demoted yesterday. Luis Acuna, excuse me, I said it backwards. Luis Angel Acuna was demoted, sent down to AAA. This is obviously pretty good news from Ronnie Mauricio. Looks like they kind of chose him to keep around at the big league level. Acuna started out really hot with the bat and then stopped hitting. So his last 35-6 games, OPS is in the 300s. Oof. So they had to send him down. He's got some more seasoning to do. Glove is good. The bat needs work. A couple minutes we're going to be talking football with Armando Marsal. Ryan Mountcastle's on the injured list with a strained hamstring. The team made the decision to move him from the 15-day to the 60-day injured list. So he's out for 2 months, right? So he's out of the mix here. And sorry, I'm just getting everyone. Did we talk about this yesterday? Everyone text me while I'm doing the show. It's my boss from Sirius. Okay, there we go. Everything's okay. Ryan Mountcastle's on the 60-day injured list, out for a long period of time. We talked about Sammy Basallo. Are they going to bring him up because of the questions at the catcher spot? Adley Rutschman's on the injured list. So Rutschman, your starting catcher, injured list. Ryan Mountcastle, your starting first baseman, injured list. Maverick Hanley, the guy who was promoted when Adley Rutschman got hurt to work with Gary Sanchez behind the plate. Maverick Hanley on the injured list with a concussion. Okay? All right. Samuel Basallo, still in the minors. I don't get it. Your team is teetering on the edge of being done for the season, throwing in the towel in 2025. You've got one of the better power hitting prospects in all of baseball. You can call him up. You can catch him 2 days a week. You can play him at DH the other couple of days, put him at first base, put Ryan O'Hearn at DH or something. You can figure this out. They're not calling him up. And with the anger that the Orioles fans have, I think, because this has gone horribly wrong for them this year, and with Basallo down on the farm, hitting home runs all the time, mashing baseballs, as we talked about yesterday, 450 feet. I don't get it. And I talked to Phil Backer, our resident Oriole expert. He doesn't get it either. And he basically said a lot of the fans are just freaking pissed. So again, I picked up Basallo in a couple of leagues for $24 and $29, I think, out of my $1,000 budget to see how it goes. And again, these are 14, 15 team leagues, 2 catchers. If you're in a 10 or 12 teamer with 1 catching spot, and it's not a keeper league of some kind, and you just picked them up hoping, it doesn't look like that hope's going to pay off because the Orioles stubbornly are not bringing a guy up that can help their offense. Another mistake I made. Look at this for mistake day, Ray. Remember when I said Jeimer Candelario? Oh, he's going to get, when he's healthy, he's going to go on the roster for sure. Whoops. The Reds, who signed this guy to a 3-year, $45 million contract, which was odd at the time, and I said it at the time, they've got all these young players. Why would they sign Candelario? Disappointed in his year and a half with the Reds. They just let him go. Just becoming a free agent. And so he'll become a free agent. Someone else will pick him up, pay him the minor league minimum, or the major league minimum, excuse me. The Reds will be responsible for the rest of his contract. So the Reds are still paying this guy over $20 million this year and next year to not play for them. They threw $20 million in the toilet. The Reds aren't the Yankees. In fact, the Reds at times have been critiqued for not spending money. They just threw $20 million in the toilet. I mean, I don't know why they didn't play him for the next month, hope he had a good month, and then trade him to somebody for a middle reliever or something. Some prospect at single A ball, something. They just DFA'd him. It's very weird. Now, it's positive news on the other side for Christian Encarnacion Strand, who's had a hard time getting in the lineup of late. Now there's one less guy in the mix. But remember, as we've also discussed, Noelvi Marte is on the cusp of being recalled, and my expectation is that he'll return to be the third baseman of this team. So we still got one too many guys here, because remember as well, we also have Austin Hayes, who we just talked about, still on the sidelines too. So Hayes comes back, he goes in the outfield. He'll be joined in the outfield by TJ Friedl and Jake Fraley. Will Benson might be demoted at that point in time. The very best case scenario for Benson, he probably gets turned into a bench guy. They called up Reese Hins. Not really sure why they did that, the Reds. Okay. I mean, he's very limited offensive player with tons of power. Reds are still trying to figure this out. Again, bottom line is there's one less guy in the mix. This does make an opportunity available for younger players, but still trying to figure this one out. Very, very weird scenario with the Reds choosing to DFA Jeimer Candelario for absolutely nothing. So there's the baseball talk today. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com for all the baseball coverage. As I mentioned, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get all of the baseball coverage. It's just one single package right now. Support at fantasyguru.com. Go to fantasyguru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page to find this show and all the past shows, Fantasy Sports Daily. And you can also find the show of our next guest, Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. His show, Mind of Marsal, is also there. So that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. If you want to check out his work over there, let's check out his work here right now as he joined us as he does every Tuesday on the show at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. Armando, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Ray. How's it going, man?
It's going all right. We're trying to figure out these teams that sign these guys to these big contracts and then say whoops and then just say adios. Let's be nice. Wouldn't it be nice to get your contract and get paid even if you're not working?
Imagine that. Like you get a great contract and you say, you know what, we just don't need your services, but we guarantee you that money. Bye-bye. Like, yeah. I mean, it happens too much in sports nowadays.
I mean, hi, Candelario, you're so bad. Here's $20 million to go away. Whoa. Okay. I'll be back. It's fine.
I won't come back. I promise. I won't be back.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird stuff going on in sports. Armando Marsal again at FantasyGuru.com. Armando_Marsal on Twitter X. We got a lot to talk about here with you, Armando. Thanks for joining us today. We'll talk about a couple of the articles that you wrote here in a little bit. So we kind of tease the package over at FantasyGuru.com. I wanted to start out with a couple of topics that we've talked about. I don't know how much has really changed, but there's reports about a couple of these scenarios. So I figured we dive into it a little bit further. One of the storylines we're hearing, if we go to Kansas City, is that, and we got to be honest here, Kelce isn't what he once was, but he's still a fine piece of this offense. Last year, at various times, the backfield was a mess for the Chiefs. At various times, the receiving core was a mess, all kinds of injuries. So Patrick Mahomes was just the guy, really, last season. Not NFL-wise, but fantasy-wise. And people were out and upset and angry and all that kind of stuff. Well, we're hearing reports that they're going to open the offense back up this year, which makes sense. If the guys are healthy, let's do things differently. So, assuming, for what that's worth, that the receiving core in particular is healthy for the Chiefs, are you buying this storyline that they're going to open the offense up more? And does it make you any more excited about Patrick Mahomes?
I'm not necessarily buying this report, but Mahomes is someone I'm still investing in. I think we forget as fantasy managers, right? We get so locked in as QB1, 27, 26, 28 fantasy points per game. He still averaged 20 fantasy points per game last season. I mean, it wasn't a ceiling Mahomes like season, right? Like that's what we're not, but you're not drafting him as such anymore, Ray. So for me, I'm taking the floor with potential upside, right? Why not invest in him? He's going as QB6 right now on underdog. I'm viewing him as a top 7 quarterback for myself. Right behind Joe Burrow in that range. And I think he's a good investment. I think he's a floor play. And with this kind of report, with this, like you mentioned, you get Rice back this season. You have, yes, another year of Kelce, but Kelce, another player who finished as a top 7 tight end last season. I mean, it was a solid season. It wasn't a Kelce-like season. It was a solid season. So there's still a good supporting cast. They added to this backfield with Elijah Mitchell. Like they still have their guys. Hunt is back as well. Pacheco's there. Like, I think there's a good supporting cast here for Patrick Mahomes, right? And I think that this is an offense that can play at a higher level than what we saw last season if they stay healthy. So, yeah, to answer your question, I'm investing in them. Am I buying the report that, all of a sudden this is going to be Patrick Mahomes a couple of years ago? Maybe not. I'm not expecting him to be QB1. I'm not expecting him to average 28, 27 fantasy points per game. But if it gives me 22, 23 fantasy points per game, I think you're winning based on, where you're drafting him and where he's coming off the board in fantasy drafts at this time.
Who's also winning is John G, who says, technically on most days around noon, I get paid. And it doesn't feel like work because I listen to fantasy talk. All right, John, look at that. That's a good life, Armando. Just getting to listen to you every day and then making money. That sounds pretty good.
I mean, it's you, Ray. It's you every day here. So he's tuning in every day, dude. He just, he gets to guess as well. It's a bonus. It's a bonus, But yeah, it's definitely it's a good gig there you got going on, John.
Yeah, I like it.
Good gig.
Tell us, John. Let's talk a little bit again. This is storyline that we've talked about a lot. The Colts quarterback situation. We kind of had reports on both sides here. Anthony Richardson's got the shoulder that everyone's concerned about. He's claiming he's okay. Is he? Okay. He's claiming he's okay physically. Okay. We take him at his word. We're also getting other reports saying that, well, yeah, but Daniel Jones has taken a step forward here and he's in the lead. It's starting to look more and more like Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback in week 1. Now, again, that's not settled by any means. Talk us through the expectations for these two quarterbacks and what do we do? If we're in a 1 QB league, can we draft either one of these guys? Because just because Daniel Jones is the starter, I mean, he can end up being 3-6 and get benched. Like, you know how this goes. So if you're in a super flex or 2 QB league and you want to take these guys as your third quarterback, I think that's great. But if you're in a 1 quarterback league, can you draft either one of these guys?
No, I don't think it's necessary to draft either one. Like the bad thing about this is because I wanted to be invested in Daniel Jones as a third quarterback, like you mentioned, like 2 quarterback super flex leagues. I really thought I think he's going to be a good value there. That's where he's going right now. But with this news, I'm expecting his ADP to start climbing a little bit. I expect there to be some more certainty as far who's the starting quarterback. You mentioned that all the reports have been positive thus far for Daniel Jones. The same cannot be said about Anthony Richardson, who's dealing with an injury and can't play. So this is the only problem. You're going to deal with ADP, but ultimately, in my opinion, I always looked at it as where Anthony Richardson, the healthy Anthony Richardson, was going to get opportunities early on, and eventually, I thought Daniel Jones was going to take over. Like you mentioned, now we could kind of see the reverse, right, where Daniel Jones is the clear-cut number 1 guy in week 1, but that doesn't mean he has a safe job throughout the entirety of the season. A bad performance here or there, a couple bad performances, a losing record, the team could go ahead and give Anthony Richardson, so long as he's healthy, some opportunities to see kind of what they have in him, right? Because at the end of the day, I think we've gotten some answers, but I don't think the verdict is out just yet. I don't have the expectations that others have for him, but I think there are other people out there that think that there's still a chance that he can produce at a high level in the NFL. I need to see it before I believe it at this point, though. For me, the best fit for this offense right now is Daniel Jones. I think he gives them the best chance to win. I think he's going to give the supporting cast the better possibility to produce fantasy points and fantasy numbers. But again, I think this is a volatile situation, and it'll remain one throughout the entirety of the season unless Daniel Jones completely comes out and sets the world on fire and just wins games for the Colts and they can't change. That would be the only reason why I would see either of these quarterbacks sticking around for the entirety of the season.
Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com joins us every Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Angelo's got a comment here. Usually I go after Josh Allen, but I might go later quarterback like Drake May. Allen's the better quarterback. He's the higher upside play. He's the higher floor play. He's better, blah, blah, blah. Period. What is your thought, though, on waiting at the quarterback, not going the Josh Allen or elite quarterback route, waiting at the quarterback position? Would you feel comfortable in a 1 quarterback league with Drake May as your QB1, provided your team ahead of him is built pretty well?
Yeah, so I wrote an article up there. You can find the draft guide. It's the late round quarterback, and he's one of the quarterbacks I listed as a potential get. He fits into that kind of category where I have him in that top 15 range. But if I end up with him as my QB1 in a single quarterback league, I'm perfectly fine. I think he flashed a lot of potential last year. He was my favorite quarterback from last year's draft class. I think they added some pieces here with drafting Henderson. They added Diggs, offensive line beefing up. I like what the Patriots have done here to continue to help their young quarterback. I think that the future is bright for Drake May. He has that rushing upside. Is he Josh Allen? Absolutely not. Like you said it. We'll say he's not Josh Allen, but I think you're going to get a pretty solidified floor with Drake May on a week-to-week basis. And I think there's also that built-in upside because of his rushing ability. So because of that, I'm totally fine. If you read the article, he's part of that. I'll give you a couple other quarterbacks for those who are interested. Rounds 9 and 10. And this is, of course, underdog ADP here. So rounds 9 and 10, there's guys like Bo Nix, Justin Fields, Dak Prescott, all quarterbacks I'm totally fine with as your QB1. And then rounds 11 plus, Drake May is one of those quarterbacks, CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert, those kind of quarterbacks going in that range that you don't have to really take an early, draft pick to select the quarterback. You can load up on receivers, load up on running backs, get an elite tight end, and still get yourself a very serviceable quarterback, as your QB1. We
have a whole best ball guide in the draft guide at fantasyguru.com. Tyler Beaker did most of that, rankings and all that kind of stuff. So if you sign up for the seasonal football product at fantasyguru.com, you get access to that. So that's something I don't think I mentioned. Maybe I didn't mention best ball when I was talking about all the rankings we have earlier. We've got those in the draft guide. Armando, behind me, I've got hot dogs and bratwurst and such on the photo there. I'm grilling myself up this week.
Okay.
When you go to a game, you get a dog? Do you get a beer? Like, what's your go-to at a baseball or football game?
It's a beer. I think you have to have a beer in these games,
Okay.
Food, I like the hot dog. Sometimes pizza. I am a sucker for pizza.
Okay.
So there's a good pizza there. I might take a slice. But it's usually just a beer, eh?
Okay.
It's usually just a beer. I do like the peanuts. How about, do you do Cracker Jacks? I was going to ask. Do you do Cracker Jacks?
I haven't done Cracker Jacks in a long time. I used to
Right.
enjoy them as a kid. I'm not a big caramel kind of, I love popcorn and I'm a nut guy. So I haven't, but that's something I probably should rectify. I probably should do that next time I'm there.
I do see Angelo say the Italian sauce. So I went. The best snack I've had in a game was in Chicago.
Okay.
They had, I think, the Polish say. Oh my goodness, that was phenomenal. That with a beer. So that would be my go-to. But I don't live in Chicago. I live in Miami, so I'm gonna have to settle for the hot dog.
By the way, I said at a baseball or football game. When's the last time you went to a football game? Like, we can't go to football games with our job. When's the last time you went to a game?
An NFL game? Yeah, I've been invited so many times I simply cannot. Yeah. I went last season to a Canes game. I did do that. Okay. I took my son to a Canes game. But no, NFL game. I've been wanting to go, but it's just very difficult, right? Because every Sunday morning, I know you're working. I got the live stream, so it's difficult, And I live about an hour away from the stadium itself, so it's difficult.
I'm about 40 minutes away from the Niners, but I haven't been to a Niners game in 2 decades.
Wow.
Yeah, Everyone's like, how's the new stadium? I have no idea. I haven't been there. I don't know. I hear it's really nice. You're sitting on one side, not blinded by the sun. Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Malik Nabers is fine, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's got a toe issue that goes back to college. Not a big deal. We're getting reports that, it's not a big deal. I've read 8 reports about his toe not being a big deal. Is it a deal? Like, there's an awful lot of everything's fine if everything really is fine, or am I blowing this out of proportion?
Listen, when a player like Malik Nabers, like when he gets a cut on his finger, everyone's going to report about it. When anything happens to this kind of player, they're going to report about it. Okay. I'm optimistic. I think he's going to be just fine. I wouldn't be too worried right now. I'm still drafting him heavily in that first round. I'm okay with taking him with a top 5 pick in your fantasy drafts. Like, I have high expectations for Malik Nabers. But with that said, it is definitely something you want to continue to monitor, right? If it continues to affect him further into training camp, in the preseason, at that point, maybe there is some concern to be had. But for now, I think they're just being cautious with their superstar receiver there.
Okay. Stupid star? I don't know what you were going to say. But yeah. We've all been there. I said something really stupid this morning on the show, so I left like 3 words out while I was talking, so it happened.
It happens.
Armando Marsal at fantasyguru.com. This one I don't think is anything at all, but hey, there's nothing happened in the NFL, so let's talk about it. Ashton Genty, the number 1 pick in Dynasty, guy that's going first round in a lot of drafts, if not most drafts this season in redraft. 3-down back, is going to have this huge role. Is going to get 330 touches this year for the Raiders. The Athletics, Tashawn Reed says, whoa, they got this Raheem Mostert guy who one time in 10 years has been pretty good. And he's going to be the primary 3rd-down back. What are we doing with this report? This seems to me like, again, it's June, we got nothing to talk about. But when a B reporter says the primary 3rd-down back is going to be this guy and it's not the guy we anticipated being, should we be nervous at all?
Ray, 33-year-old Raheem Mostert. Are we really concerned about him taking away touches and opportunities from Genty? I'm not concerned. Look, Genty, if for those watching, you should go check out our rankings. I'm gonna a little secret. Genty's a top 5 in our top 200 overall. I'm not concerned about Mostert stealing any touches here. Will Mostert have opportunities? Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that Genty is not going to get 300+ opportunities this season? Absolutely not. I mean, Mostert, in addition to being 33 years old, he's had issues staying on the field, battled injuries throughout his career. Even if this is the intention of the Raiders, I think it'll be short-lived. I just don't think you take that kind of draft, pick. You use that kind of draft capital on someone like Genty, the talent that he is, the player that he is, to not use them immediately. I mean, I'm expecting a huge year from him, and I put it this way, I'm not even handcuffing Genty with Mostert.
I don't know Tashawn Reed, never spoke to Tashawn Reed. I don't remember reading any articles by Tashawn Reed, but this is either the scoop of the century. or this is like a report that should get you fired. I mean, right? Like it's not, this is not, this is against what everyone says, which again, if you got a source, you could have broken the story. But if not, this is just pure nonsense clickbait, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it has. I mean, these are the reports that you look at and you'd say, all right. I mean, you look back at it a couple months down the road and you're like, what was going on? Like, what was going on? Like, do we even know Mostert's going to be around? And is he going to make the roster?
Possible.
Like I'm just saying, like I'm not saying he's not, but nothing here is guaranteed with Mostert. Now this is that noise you just block out.
Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. Staying with the Raiders for a second, we've heard the drumbeat start to get a little louder here with this youngster. Dante Thornton was thought to be obviously behind Jack Besh, and we'll see, what the playing time even looks like this year at all. Report after report, different beat writers, are starting to say not only does this Thornton kid look pretty good, not only is he ahead of Jack Besh, that he and Geno Smith starting to do some things together here in practice. Anything actionable here? Like Besh and Thornton, are they on the redraft radar at all? Should you, if you haven't had your dynasty draft, start getting super excited about Dante Thornton and push him up draft boards? What do you think?
So these reports are not enough for me to make any drastic adjustments to where I have these players ranked. But I do think that this steady drumbeat of, Thornton news, it is noteworthy, right? And it's something now that in deeper dynasties, if he's out there, why not add him? You could add him, maybe, just kind of stash him. You have a lot of, there's some rosters out there with 60, roster spots. I feel like in those kind of leagues, why not have a player like that? Because if something does emerge, you already have them and it costs zero at this moment. But am I going out of my way in redraft leagues or, 12-team regular leagues? No, maybe not. Not in leagues that aren't deep, but definitely something noteworthy, something to keep an eye on. And if this continues between now and training camp and in preseason, then maybe we do have something here for redraft as well. But keep in mind, like even if he does emerge and carves out a role, there's still a good chance that he's going to be fourth in the pecking order, right? You still got Bowers, all right? You still have Myers, and you still have Genty, who we just spoke about. So I wouldn't expect an incredible role, maybe some volatility. We know that he's an explosive receiver. He has that, he could stretch the field. But, again, it's just one of those things where you put it away and you have it there in your notes. But this is one of those reports that I don't view as noise. This is one of those reports that I'm actually paying close attention to and will continue because it's been a steady drumbeat, right, for now a couple of, days, weeks, whatever you want to say.
I think our rankings over at FantasyGuru.com might be higher on this player than pretty much everyone. I just drafted him in our recently completed Dynasty Draft, 12 teams, 45 rounds, IDP. I took him in the 32nd round. So even in that draft, no one was excited about this tight end. But we also get a report that Chig Okonkwo caught the most passes of any player with Tennessee during OTAs. So the guy that was most involved in this offense was Chig Okonkwo. New head coach, new quarterback. We have seen flashes from Okonkwo. Overall, not lived up to expectations at all, but we've seen flashes. Is he draftable in a redraft league? Is it only if you're taking two tight ends, which you really shouldn't do anyway? What are we doing with Chig Okonkwo in a redraft league?
It depends on the size of your league, right, Ray? If you're in a 14-team league, sure. I think you can go ahead and take him there. In a 10-team league, probably not. 12-team league, I think you can make a case really like he's kind of in that cusp for me. I think top, 16, top 17. I think there's potential there. But what really stands out is this reports is that we have a young quarterback in Tennessee, and we know that they tend to lean on the tight ends a lot. They tend to lean on them as security blankets, especially early on in their career. So this is noteworthy. And when you look at the supporting cast outside of Calvin Ridley, like it's not great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So someone does have to step up and catch the ball here. Mm-hmm. So this could be one of those situations where I'm going to monitor closely, and Okonkwo could kind of move into that top, 12, top 14, top 13 range for me, where I might choose him over some of the other guys available as my tight end one, right? Just understanding that when you're taking a tight end like this, there could be a lot of volatility, but it's a volatile position as it is, right? It's one that has high variance, and outside of maybe a handful of guys, there's not a lot of safe floors. He's still young. He hasn't lived up to expectation just yet, but we know, and he's flashed that potential. He's that big playmaker, someone that could, I think, be a big red zone threat for the Titans this season. So definitely something to keep a close eye on. And I think these kind of reports are the important ones, right? Just like we just talked about before with Thornton. This is one of those reports where you kind of put away and you remember and you kind of keep, tab and see if they continue, see if the steady drum beats continue. But I wouldn't be surprised if Okonkwo becomes, one of the primary targets for the young Cam Ward.
Marsal, fantasyguru.com. Let's go back to the Chiefs for one more moment before we talk about some of the articles you wrote in the draft guide over at FG. Travis Kelce. I know Jeff Mans has talked about him on the Elite Sports Show Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock Eastern on Sirius XM. Justin Fensman and I talked about him this morning on the show, on the Elite Sports Game Time show. And, the fact is, to me, as Jeff said yesterday, I think it was yesterday on the show, he said the easiest pick you can make all draft season in 2025 is taking Travis Kelce in the 8th round. It's just do it. His ADP is not high. He's fallen down the board, all that kind of stuff. We got a report where Andy Reid basically said snap count's going to look similar to last year. So this is, this is a scenario where, remember, he still caught 97 passes last year. Now, I know he wasn't dynamic and the overall numbers weren't as good. But where are we at with Travis Kelce again? I'm a fan. I in the 8th round is my tight end one. I'm in. I'll totally take him all day, all night if he stays at that point. What are your thoughts on Travis Kelce?
I mean, I'm in too. I don't know what the hesitation is. You're getting a discount. He was a top 5 tight end in PPR formats last year. I think we just have to set realistic expectations as fantasy managers, right? You talked about, if he has a similar role to what he had last year, that's 85% of the snaps, 24% target share, right?
That works.
Yeah, that works for me. Just understand you're not getting the Kelce of 3 years ago where it's the seeding week every week, and maybe he'll give you 1 seeding game this season compared to 5 seeding games in his prime. That would be the only difference. Are you still getting a top tight end or a top 10 tight end? I'm sorry. Yes, I think you are. I have him in my tight end outlooks. I have him at tight end 6. I believe Jeff has him as tight end 5 or 4 in his ranking. So he's a tight end 1 in a 10-team league. He's a tight end 1 in an 8-team league. And where he's going, I think you're getting a discount price, right? And then what you're doing here is that gives you the early rounds now. If you want to go running back heavy, you want to go receiver heavy, you want to take that elite quarterback and not invest in in one of those early round tight ends, you can do that, right? It gives you some flexibility with how you approach your fantasy drafts. And you're still getting, in my opinion, a reliable option at the position. So is he past his prime? We all know that he's past his prime, right? But if he's going to have a similar role, I'll take 85% snap share and 24% target share in this kind of offense any day of the week.
Yeah, I'll take 85 catches, 800 yards. That's cool.
Right? Hey, Kelce didn't have a great season, guys. He finished tight end 5 in PPR settings. He caught 97 passes, 823 receiving yards. Yeah, he just had 3 touchdowns, and he still was a top 5 tight end. I mean, if he gets you a handful of touchdowns this season, you're looking at another top 5, top 6 season out of him.
Armando Marsal of FG. Every year you write this thing called the quarterback bye week cheat sheet. What is that, and why should people care about it?
So it's not even an article, Ray. It's really a cheat sheet that provides you with all of the quarterbacks and their bye weeks. And then this year I expanded it. The previous years I was just doing 4 options, but being where you look at, there's a lot of quarterbacks in that secondary tier. Once you get outside of the top 12, those QB2s, they're viable options. They have pretty good matchups. I was looking through the schedule throughout the season, and I feel like there are multiple viable options. And now, hopefully, this is encouraging to those fantasy managers where they don't feel like they have to stash 2 quarterbacks for multiple weeks. Now you can wait around maybe the week before and add one of these guys. So it's a cheat sheet basically with that. It gives you the top options every bye week, the different top options, and it's matchup based with the system based. I take everything into account. And I use that little formula and then create a little cheat sheet for everyone. So option 1 is the top option, option 2 is the second one, and then it goes all the way through option 5. The last, like I said, when we first started this, I did 4 options, but this year I expanded it to 5. I think that, there are a couple risky options several weeks, but for the most part, you have a lot of viable options, as I plug and play. And this is based on where they're being drafted. I tried my best to keep it outside of the top 15. So it should be 15 through 32 is kind of where I kept it. I didn't want to do 13, 14 or any of the top 12. I know they might not be drafted in your leagues, but I went off of underdog ADP and I kind of did QB 16 through 32.
Remember this draft guide that Armando's talking about, it's full season long.
Yes.
Articles going up every day in the preseason, continue to happen in season as well. You get coverage the whole year. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Another article that you write every year is the red zone. And obviously it's really important to know some guys touch the ball a lot between the 20s, never touch the ball down near the goal line. Other guys are featured down near the goal line. So it's a really important thing to know. Anything pop while you're doing the research here, good or bad, in the red zone article, something that you look at and say, wow, I bet the normal person, they probably didn't understand that this is what happened or this didn't happen. You got something for us there in terms of the red zone?
Yeah, so something I allude to a lot is, we talk about Lamar Jackson being a high rushing upside player, which he is.
Mm-hmm.
But unlike Josh Allen, unlike Jalen Hurts, his role in the red zone isn't significant. Like when you look at the numbers, right, and you look at what Derrick Henry did. So he accounted for 94.7% of the Ravens' rush attempts inside the 5-yard line. You mentioned it. Not all touches inside the 20-yard line are created equal. You're talking about almost 100% of those rushes inside the 5-yard line for Baltimore came from Derrick Henry, not Lamar Jackson. So when they get to that part of the field, it just tells me they don't use Lamar Jackson as a runner as much. Yes, they have someone like Derrick Henry, but you know what? The Eagles have Saquon Barkley, and they still use Jalen Hurts a lot. They do a lot of that tush push. Like when you look at Jalen Hurts, he led, the quarterbacks in red zone rush attempts, and he was right there, like with Barkley, within a handful of opportunities as a runner inside the red zone. So that just stands out to me because they're different, kind of touches for these quarterbacks, different kind of runs. Like Lamar Jackson does run, but when you get to this part of the field, they avoid that kind of contact when it comes to Lamar Jackson. They really lean on their running back here instead of the quarterback.
Yeah, my By the Numbers series of articles comes out later this week. There's 4 articles, one for each position. And I noted in that article, Armando, to your point, that Josh Allen has 27 rushing scores the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's one less than Lamar Jackson has the last 6. To your point, I mean, the touchdowns aren't there. And he's a phenomenal football player, and the rushing yards are there, but he's just not a guy that's utilized near the goal line. Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. I mentioned my articles, 4 of them are dropping here in a couple of days. I know that you've got a bunch of articles that are coming out soon in the draft guide over at FG. One of those being the offensive line breakdown that you and Ted Schuster do together, unless it's changed and I'm an idiot asking you. You're nodding your head like I'm not. Okay. When does that come out? Okay. When does that come out, and what's the value of that? Because we think it's extremely important at FantasyGuru.com. And if someone's never been with us before, they might not quite understand that.
Yeah, so that will drop on July 2nd. So it's next Wednesday, I believe it is. And yeah, it's basically what the article entails. We cover the offensive line. So Ted does the NFC, I take over the AFC, and we go team by team, breaking down the offensive line. Pointing out any changes, additions, anything, changes of offensive line coach as well, the scheme of the offense that's also put on the article there. So the reason why it is important, we talk about this all the time, because we talk about how coaching matters, how the offensive line matters. Like, yeah, you could be a spectacular runner, you could be a phenomenal running back, but if your offensive line is not good and you're getting pressure, you're getting hit behind the line, there's only so much you could do. So we talk about the importance of the offensive line. We look at and grade each offensive line. We basically it's a grade scale A through F, and then we rank them as well. So we do that for all 32 teams. We include the depth of the offensive line. We give a little breakdown for each offensive line, and it's one of those tools that can go a long way. And you pair that up with Jeff's coaching breakdown, and you got some really good information there, and kind of what to expect for some of these offenses. There's different schemes, different offenses. So all of that is important here, Ray. And yeah, it's a lengthy article. It's going to take you maybe a couple of days to read, but definitely a lot of information, a very informative piece there.
There is a chart with the grades. So
yes, yeah,
you should read the article. Don't mistake what I'm about to say. But there is like a cheat sheet if you're not inclined to really read the article as you should. But yeah, we try to help everyone, right? There's the short readers and the long readers.
Yeah, exactly. We do a little bit for everyone, Ray.
We try. Again, Armando Marsal joins us every Tuesday here at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can follow him on Twitter X at Armando_Marsal. You can see him every Tuesday night on the live stream. Basically every Tuesday night, we have a live stream at 7:00 Eastern Standard Time. You can find his work over at FantasyGuru.com as we're discussing. You can find his show, Mind of Marsal. If you go to FG and you click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page, you can find Mind of Marsal. We got a couple of comments here, Armando. Angelo says that The Brave Stadium is a mile from Costco, so they just drive over there and get $1.50 hot dogs at Costco.
Oh, that's a smart man right there.
You ever did we never did this, but apparently my lady used to do it when she was younger, so we started to do it like the last 3 times now we've gone to Costco. We get the hot dog and the drink. It's $1.50.
Okay.
We split the hot dog. She doesn't want to eat the whole thing. I don't really want to eat the whole thing, but we split the hot dog. She gets the soda. Are you a Costco guy?
No, I actually am not. I am a BJ's. I have the BJ's wholesale, like, so that's the closest one by my house. Okay. But I have done the Costco before.
Okay.
But yeah, I've seen the hot dogs for $1.50.
$1.50 dog and a drink.
You can't beat that, right?
Can't beat that. Pretty good deal.
I'll tell you this, Angela. I used to sneak in candy into the movie theater. If we're saying,
I've known women sneak in bottles of wine.
What?
My lady, no. But I've known women. Yeah, stick a bottle of wine. That's a big purse, lady. Oh, I got my makeup in here. I don't know. I hear it happens. Tony W says that the best food is at White Sox Stadium. They grill the sausage, the onions, the peppers right in front of you. The stadium's nothing special, but I love their food. I've never been, so I can't vouch for that. And I'm not an onion guy. I'm kind of allergic to onions, actually, so I don't. But the idea, the smell of the hot dogs and the onions and everything, you mentioned earlier, you kind of like that if you had to have something with your beer, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't mind a sausage or a hot dog or something. That'll be good. That'll be good. Have you been to Steinbrenner Field?
No.
If anyone has and recommend anything, shoot me a DM in Discord. I'm planning on going in there in August.
Oh, okay. All right.
Take my son to a game there. Well, take the family, actually. With the entire family is going.
Yeah, it's basically a miniature Yankee Stadium, right? It's like
correct.
Dimensions are the same and the whole thing.
Correct.
It's always like 11,000 people or something. It's pretty small.
Yeah, it's very small. Yeah. Very small.
Yeah, enjoy that. That'll be fun. We'll have to get a report, take a photo or something. We'll throw it up here on the screen.
Oh, yeah, we'll do.
John V says, Ray, the Oracle, great sweep with baseball picks yesterday, brother. You got it. Justin, yeah, we were 4-0 yesterday. Had a rough week last week, so I kind of went back to the basics yesterday. I was 4-0. I think the dong detector was Scott Bonder. I think he hit 2 or 3 of the guys there. We talked to Chris Rose this morning on SiriusXM, and he said that we had multiple people win $3,000 plus in DFS yesterday. So we're rocking and rolling with the baseball product over at fantasyguru.com. Armando doesn't cover baseball for us, but he's a baseball fan. We look at baseball cards on the show. He mentioned he's going to the game out there at the Rays Stadium here next month or 2 months away. But we got a great team over at fantasyguru.com for the baseball product. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get all of our baseball. Everything's DFS, seasonal wagering. It's just one package. Finally, Armando, before we go, what are you doing this weekend or the rest of the week? Anything exciting?
Yeah, so on Saturday, I mean, nothing exciting during the week, just regular sports with the kids and stuff like that. But on Saturday, we're celebrating. My dad's birthday is actually today, but we'll be celebrating it on Saturday, but just at my mom's house. They have some food and they have a pool there, so the kids will go in the pool and just hang out. So other than that, no, just going to be working. I'm working on the offensive line breakdown as we speak. Not right now, but yeah, right now I have all that. I said, Ted, the spreadsheet that we use and stuff like that. So we're rocking and rolling with that. And got a Mind Marsal episode this week as well. So keep an eye out for that, dropping probably Thursday or Friday this week. And that's really what we got going on, Ray. Just a lot of behind the scenes stuff, working on that article. It does take a lengthy amount of time to put that together. So by next week, it'll be up on the site and you guys will be able to check that out. And I'm also working on, so I kind of gather data as I go, as the QB target share. That's something that I drop later on in the summer, where it basically shows you where the quarterbacks are throwing the football. Are they throwing it to the wide receivers, to the tight ends, to the running backs, and it gives you a percentage of their career passes to each position. Also, the spreadsheet includes throwaways and things like that. So it's a thing where I go game by game and I kind of see where the ball is going. So it's a project that takes me a long time, but we're trucking along with that one as well, Ray. That usually drops by the end of July, beginning of August, usually when I drop that.
Yeah, get signed up now. I said this before. You're going to sign up anyway. Just do it now.
Yeah.
It's like you can do it. You can do it in a month and a half. You're going to be overwhelmed by all the information. Sign up now. Get comfortable with the site. Get comfortable with the data, the reports, the analysis. Hit us up. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, or send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Armando, as always, great visit. Thank you for your time today. Oh, by the way, did you have a card or two you wanted to show, or wait till next week?
If you want, I have a couple. I was just going to show you some fun ones. Nothing
Right,
crazy.
A couple minutes. Go for it.
All right, hold on.
We open packs frequently with Armando. We kind of ran out of packs. His kids are taking too many of the packs.
They do.
So here's a couple of cards that he's pulled from the packs.
No. So these are. Remember, I told you. So I like to purchase the cards of my my favorite. So I got a couple PSA 10 ones. Just fun ones.
Nice.
So we got a little CJ Stroud here. So this
I don't know. Is that a rookie card?
Yeah, there's a rookie card.
Okay.
So this is a rookie. It's a blue absolute, and this one is not numbered. So this one's not numbered here.
Roughly, price of that is $50.
Yeah, $50-$60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I got a couple of. I'm only brought one here, but this is one of my favorites. So I bought a couple of these because they were. I looked at the bidding and it was. It looked too cheap for the value, so I ended up with a pair of these. These are Jamar Chase rookie cards.
Okay.
And
the exact same card you got two of?
Yeah, the exact same one. I have two of these. And I have about $30-$40 equity in each of them. Okay. These are PSA 10. So yeah, this is it's a mosaic, a silver. And yeah, man, this is a cool card. That's why I found out.
Is one of those for sale now for $110 because it was yours?
No.
Okay, all right, just asking.
No. I'm holding these. I'm holding.
It'll come with the signature.
No, yeah. So I've been looking for those. Those are the ones I've been looking for. Those are expensive. But you know what I try to do, Ray? I look at when the time is running out.
Yeah.
Like if there's anything, I always have two screens open, and I have the bidding one, and I look at the pricing in different sites.
Right.
And if I see that it's vastly underpriced, so I'm going to place a bid or two. But
gotcha.
I normally get outbid. I'm not gonna lie to you. I normally get
always happens at the end, right?
It's like it has to be robots. I'm 100% sure that it's robots. There's no way someone could bid that quickly.
Yeah.
And then the last one, there's a CeeDee Lamb one. This is not super valuable, but
rated rookie. Nice.
Yeah, one of my favorite receivers. He and Jamar Chase. I've been a fan of his. I actually have about 30 to 35 rookie cards of CeeDee Lamb.
Wow.
Yeah, different ones. This is the only graded one I have, but so that's it. It's just three, nothing fancy, nothing. Just players I'm fans of. But yeah, CeeDee Lamb is the one player I'm most invested in. But I have several nice cards of him that are not graded.
So that's your kid's college fund right there?
Pretty much, Ray. Pretty much. We're still
long way to go.
We're still got a long way to go, Ray. I need more of these. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Justin V, by the way, says he loves the cards, Armando. He's a breaker, hence the Discord name of Varsity Breaks. So there you go. Now it makes sense.
Now it all makes sense.
Did not know that. Now I got it.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, Justin, Angelo, Tony, John, Kyle, everyone, John, everyone that commented today. You can always do that live, as you've obviously recognized here. You can watch the show live. You can watch it on demand. Type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network, or just go to FG, click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page to find this show and Armando's show catalog for you to listen to. Armando, as always, thanks, bud. Have a great week. We'll talk to you again next week, and hopefully we'll have some other cool stories to share with the folks.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for having me on.
You got it. Tomorrow the show will be back at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Justin Fenton will be on here with Rich Miletto. I'll be on with Jeff Manns from 3 to 6 Eastern. I'll return for the shows on Thursday and Friday. For Armando, I'm Ray. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com.